Welcome back, everyone, to the Mom with Moms podcast. If you've been listening for a while and you know that I have kind of kicked off 2024 earlier this year with setting my intentions to self-care. Just turned 40 yesterday, so I'm talking a little bit about my journey and just, being more cognizant of what I'm putting into my body, exploring different, wellness opportunities, resources within our community. And funny enough, one of my longtime partners at Atlantic Physical Therapy had reached out to talk to me about bringing awareness to certain programs that they offer. So I'm excited to have our guest on today, welcoming Jeremy Kuper. He's the Chief Wellness Officer at Atlantic Physical Therapy Center. Jeremy oversees the prevention, post-rehabilitation services, and obesity care services in their 26 plus, I didn't know that, 26 locations, enhancing, I thought it was like 8, that's a lot. Enhancing the continuum of care for diverse populations. Jeremy is passionate about leveraging interdisciplinary approaches to optimize health outcomes and committed to advancing the field of exercise science through education, research, and practical application. Jeremy has 10 plus years of extensive experience as a health educator, published researcher, and obesity clinician. Jeremy also serves as a clinical instructor in exercise physiology at Columbia University while completing his doctorate in education in applied physiology with a specific focus on body composition, education, and obesity care. Welcome.
Thank you, Kate.
The mouthful.
Yes, I know, it's quite a bit. Happy birthday, Kate.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So we'll dive right in. Tell me a little bit about your role at Atlantic PT, and then also we'll talk about the testing that I went through and how cool it was. I told you earlier, I've been telling everyone about it. So
absolutely,
yeah.
So my role at Atlantic Physical Therapy Center as Chief Wellness Officer is really kind of expand the services from not just rehabilitation, but kind of looking at before and then also afterwards. Because a lot of times, if you look at physical therapy. Traditionally,
mm-hmm.
you have an injury, you come in, and then you leave, and then the PT says, okay, we'll see you back in 6 months to a year if you have an injury or reoccurrence. And so I joined Atlantic Physical Therapy Center in 2022. And so really to kind of say, okay, you've established a wonderful foundation of, let's say, musculoskeletal or muscle strength and endurance and back to range of motion, but now you have that ability to get back to doing more activities and so forth. And so my role is to really add in some more exercise physiology or sports science testing, like VO2 max or metabolic testing or body composition or lung function testing to say, okay, well, once you're done with physical therapy, how is your heart, lungs, and muscles working together to either try to burn fat, try to optimize your running performance for an upcoming marathon, or if you're just trying to live longer and enjoy activities like pickleball or walking on the beach. And so my role is to really provide those resources to such a wonderful population of I see clients from the age of 5 all the way up to my oldest client is about, I'd say 94.
Wow.
So
that's really cool.
It is.
I'd love to hear why, what they are hoping to, I guess, longevity, I'd assume.
Yes, longevity is one thing. I know, they love to also walk, so they are, they're still moving,
Okay.
and they are looking to do like be able to, walk around Spring Lake or just to kind of do a upcoming walkathon.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's so cool. So that's interesting. I didn't even really think of that in terms of having perhaps like an injury or recovering from a surgery. I think I explained to you a little bit about, so I have some back pains from some scoliosis surgery I had a long time ago, and I'm always just like, basically get like some weeks are worse than others, and I really need to get it, checked out. But the thought, right, of like perhaps needing surgery again or anything like that is so daunting, but like knowing that there is not only the PCT side where like, yes, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but also like a prescription in essence where you are able to then say like, okay, here's your new body, that where you are right now, and then how you can enhance and get to your goals like even further, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So I went through the testing, and tell me, I took all of those, right, that you just mentioned. Okay.
So you started out, you came into the office, we started you with medical body composition analysis. And so we were able to look at your muscle, your fat, your hydration, but also your resting energy expenditure as well. And, we also factor in weight and BMI as well. But I tell everybody that weight and BMI are the worst metrics to look at if you're trying to advance your overall health and wellness, because it doesn't give you the true information about what's underneath the skin. And so from there, we're able to identify, okay, where are you at for those very crucial metrics for body composition. And then after the body composition, we were able to do a pulmonary lung function test where I'm able to look at, okay, how well can you pass air in and out of your lungs and identify, okay, well, how's your lung capacity looking? And because a lot of times in my role, not as a physical therapist, I'm actually an exercise physiologist, is to identify, okay, a lot of times is where's the oxygen breakdown. So how do we get the oxygen from the atmosphere to the lungs, to the heart, to the red blood cells, to the working muscles? And if there's a problem at any point, that's going to prevent you from burning fat or prevent you from optimizing your something called the aerobic capacity, or VO2 max, your number one predictor of life expectancy of longevity.
Is VO2 max.
VO2 max.
Okay. And what is that exactly?
So VO2 max is the maximum amount of oxygen you can take in and utilize at high intensity exercise.
Okay.
And so that higher the number that you can get as a VO2 max, and we determine that with your VO2 max test at the very end, that is a great indicator of saying, okay, well, now we know how much oxygen you can take in. And then from there, be able to say, okay, how can we improve your overall oxygen uptake, but also looking at how well you can get rid of carbon dioxide from your body as well. And so we always start with the pulmonary function test because we can't having issues getting oxygen into your system via the lungs.
Right.
Okay, well, that's a good spot to start. And then after we get that done, we'll be doing a resting metabolic rate test. It looks at your resting metabolism. And then after that, we get you right into the treadmill and either do a walking incline test or a running test for VO2 max. And that the exercise or the VO2 max test is it identifies, as I mentioned before, how your cardiovascular, your respiratory, and your metabolic or muscle health is working together to identify, okay, what's limiting your health and performance.
So interesting. So we're actually talking about this last night. I told you, I'm telling everyone about it. We had dinner down at Bistro in Red Bank for my birthday with my mom and my stepdad. And my stepdad has AFib. I have AFib. So we were talking about a lot of the different just limitations that we have and things that are annoying about it. And I know one of my limitations, or it came up, the severe limitation that I had was the the pulmonary, right? Just the breathing test.
Yeah.
And he was saying how that was so surprising to him because I run I don't run, I'm not an extreme marathon runner, but I run anywhere between 3 to 5 miles every day, 5 to 6 days a week, which is that's the one thing I do. I don't go to the gym. I don't do anything else. I should, but I don't I don't really do anything else, but I'm in decent shape, Cool. And so why would that be, do you think? In terms of, he was why? You would think that you would be great breathing, from the running and stuff. And I was I don't think I do. I think I don't breathe correctly.
No, of course. Yeah, it's so fascinating that, looking at, and I look at individuals health history and say, okay, well, you've had an history of, let's say, asthma, smoking, COPD, other factors as well, or even your breathing mechanics. So a lot of times if we're not, when we look at your respiratory health, we start obviously, as I mentioned, about the lung capacity or your respiratory capacity. It's really looking at not necessarily looking at the muscles around your lungs to say, okay, how well can, let's say, your diaphragm, your abdominals, or the muscles around your rib cages can basically contract and expand the lungs. And so if we're having a limitation in the respiratory muscles, that is preventing you from getting enough of that oxygen in and also carbon dioxide out. So it could not necessarily be the lungs themselves, but potentially the muscles around the lungs that are preventing you from really truly optimizing or being using your full capacity.
Right.
And so we talked about the other metrics as well, your respiratory capability, so how well you can utilize that capacity. And you scored quite well with the capability. And then once we look at the individual metrics or the different breathing techniques, so we looked at your breathing stability, so how well that the total volume of air that you're taking in each breath and also exhaling each breath as well, how does that affect your posture and ability to actually run optimally.
Right.
And then the other flip side of the coin is your breathing and cognition. So breathing cognition looks at how quickly that you're breathing at low, medium, and high intensity.
Yeah.
And we find that there's research shows that about 15% of the population actually hyperventilates at rest and during low intensity activities. And so we're breathing too quickly and not getting enough oxygen, in, but also not getting enough carbon dioxide out of your body.
Right.
And so it's so fascinating that breaking it down from there.
So the like when you see like yoga classes that offer like it's specifically like a breathing intensive or something like that. I could never figure out why anyone would want to do that, but like that are some things that can like help improve some of these issues, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Breathing training is I always recommend that my clients that if you're not doing, let's say, I said yoga is a great thing. Go, if you're doing yoga, make sure you focus on the, let's say, in through the nose, out through the mouth, or different techniques. And we can get very specific with individuals like needs of, okay, we need to address maybe the capacity or looking at different, just like if you're doing lifting weights, so different sets, reps, rest times to really strengthen those muscles around the lungs to help you improve your lung function.
Right.
And it's one of those things that's wonderful to be able to kind of identify, what do you need specifically?
Yeah, so interesting. So part of the testing also determines how your metabolism, right? And what part of that is that like a combination of all the testing that I did?
So
okay.
the two tests, so the resting metabolic rate test is the first one we did. So we looked at how well does your body, use carbs and fats at rest.
Yeah.
And so and this is such a hot topic of metabolism and saying, okay, well, how can we optimize metabolism whether we're fasting or being able to lose weight? And so with the resting test, it gives you that number of saying, okay, well, how many calories am I burning on a daily basis doing nothing at rest? And that number, that's a great number that we're able to determine. But we also want to look at the quality of the total amount of calories. So we want to look at the percentage of fat versus carbohydrate utilization at rest.
Okay.
And so that tells me, okay, and for you as a runner, we know that you were burning over 80% of fat at rest, which is phenomenal. We want to see a minimum of 60% fat being burned. And so that tells us a little bit about your cellular health and how well your body is able to, use oxygen to burn fat.
Right.
And so that's one of the metrics we look at on top of how quickly your metabolism is.
Yeah. So part of what the results give you is like, yes, I have a high metabolism, but there are also like combined with other limitations. But if you have certain goals in mind, like adding muscle or like you said, like, just your overall wellness or longevity or, heart health and stuff like that, it's still not like, having a good metabolism is part of it, right? But it's not like the whole piece.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And because on the exercise test side, we look at your active metabolism. So how well are you actually using, and this is such an interesting thing where for the weight management aspect, we're helping individuals, not just focus on fat loss and muscle gain, but also improving overall health. And a lot of times that, with exercise from the VO2 max test, we educate clients saying at low intensity, you're burning predominantly fat. And then as the exercise intensity increases, you're slowly increasing the carbohydrate utilization until we get to your maximal effort where you're completely exhausted and you have to stop the test.
Right.
And so that's, obviously your favorite part about that test.
So funny. So like you think that you're in like great shape. And I think like you said, like if you came back and do it, it's like the second time you don't even know what to expect the first time. So like maybe I would be able to push myself a little bit further. But I thought I was like I thought I could have done that for another like 10 minutes. And I was like, oh, I know like once I don't know if it's in my head, but once I think my heart rate gets like to 175, even when I'm running like during the day, like if I'm like going uphill and usually if it's like really hot and humid out, like it really depends on like what gets like makes my heart rate go that high. So like 180, I have to stop running for a little bit to kind of like level, like to get to like 165 on like my watch. I read it. But that incline like really kills you. So does everyone do the running or do some people just do walking and incline?
So you can do either the walking and incline or the running and incline. You also have the opportunity to do it on the bike as well, or the rower. So it really depends on the individual and their specific sport. So generally, by and large, for general population, I'll put everyone on the treadmill because the heart rate ranges that, similar to like everyone's watch, they give you heart rate ranges based on your age, gender, height, weight, but also, your your resting heart rate. And from there, though, one of the things that the Apple Watch, it gauges and estimates, but from the VO2 max test, we're looking at that, okay, what's your actual your oxygen in, carbon dioxide out, and that ratio tells us when you're burning fats and carbohydrates, and that dictates your heart rate ranges over the course of time. And so we want to make sure that you're, for example, exercising at the correct zone for your specific goal. So if you're focusing on, let's say, longevity, it could be could be a little bit higher zone, like zone 4. Or if you're trying to enhance your fat burning, it's going to be a low intensity cardio at zone 2, and then also doing high intensity at your near maximal heart rate at zone 5. But there's very specific parameters of exercising for that long, because the biggest thing is you want to work smarter, not harder. And make sure that you're doing the right thing for your body.
Yeah. So I went through the series of testing, and I mentioned how I've been talking to a lot of different people about it, because I have friends that struggle with their weight. I have family members that just have different wellness goals and stuff. And what the biggest takeaway is, for moms who are especially they're running around, some of them don't have time to even really get to the gym. It really depends on what their week looks like and stuff. And I know so many, especially as you get into 35 and up, really, as a woman, it's your metabolism slows down, that perimenopausal time where you're just not losing weight the way that you were able to when you were 27, eating cheese fries and just and waking up the next day, going to bed at 1 o'clock and getting up the next day for work and being completely fine. And so that all goes away. Anyone really who is, going through similar circumstances and just can't keep the weight off, right? It's so interesting because you get this prescription plan where it's based on your body composition and your metabolism and what you individually need, and you may have been doing the complete opposite, and that's why you're not. I'm sure a lot of people are guilty of just cardio, right? And it's all cardio, and you're just not losing anything, and your body's just storing it because it's in that starvation mode or whatever,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
A friend of mine who, I mentioned earlier, he is, a gym junkie. He's been going to the gym since 4 a.m. since I've met him at least 15 years. And he said, I've put 10 pounds on and I can't figure out, nothing's changed. I still working out, but he's gotten a little bit older, and it's just, he needs to switch it up, obviously. So I told him about the program because it's, it's really interesting, and it'll put you might have to work out less, right?
And that's the big thing. You work out less or less intensity as well. And so a lot of times you think you need to sweat to burn those calories, but going back to the resting metabolism, it's what's the quality of the calories that you're burning? Because if you're trying to run on the treadmill to burn fat, it's not going to happen. You want to, at low intensity, we find this number, or the heart rate, called the fat max number, and that's the heart rate that you're burning the most amount of fat and least amount of carbohydrates at the rate we want you to be burning at. And so I tell most of my clients, every day you should be working out or walking at this heart rate. And you made a great point before about, as we get older, things are constantly changing. And that's one of the biggest things, that when you're exercising and eating healthy and trying to improve your overall health, the American Medical Association came out last year with different treatments for obesity, and some of them include the bariatric surgery, pharmacotherapies, behavioral therapies, nutrition, but also physical activity. And one of the biggest things, limitations about physical activity, is that after about 6 months, individuals have metabolic and hormone changes that plateaus their quote-unquote weight loss, which kind of gets me a little, I don't say aggravated, but it's what's the weight? What's the loss of, is it a muscle loss or is it fat loss or so forth? And that's the thing where you get the prescription at Atlantic Physical Therapy, but also the idea is that at the end of the day, your body is constantly changing, and the heart rate ranges, and also what you're doing it's generally only good for about 8 to 12 weeks, and then you might have to change it up a little bit.
Right.
So you have to constantly adjust what you're doing to accommodate for your body's changes, whether you're going through menopause or let's say you're going through puberty, and making sure that the prescription is geared towards you. And the technology now with the Oura Rings, Apple Watches, they're doing, and also Whoop is coming out with a pretty good, as they're slowly accommodating for these rapid changes in your body. But it's tough to be able to determine, okay, well, what is best for me?
Right.
And with the body composition, as you mentioned with your friend, body composition at Atlantic Physical Therapy, and Mike and Dave Manza, who are the founders of Atlantic Physical Therapy since 2001, they truly, they care about the population that we serve, and body composition is always going to be a free service for new clients.
Oh.
So if anyone is interested in learning more about their muscle, their fat, hydration, but also their resting energy expenditure, those calories that you're burning, that's free. So you can come in, you get that information, and then we give you recommendations on exercise and nutrition, just so you can make those small changes. And then use us as a resource as need be, or if you need more guidance, like we have these different programs as well. But we want to make sure that you're not breaking the bank trying to learn about your body, and because healthcare has been outrageous with
So
the costs.
expensive. Yeah. No, you're right. It's very economical. You mentioned how a monthly program is really not going to break the bank. So some part of my results were that I needed to add more, actually like a lot more resistance to my exercise regimen, right? And less cardio, or in addition to, I don't really know.
Yes. So
Okay.
you want to be focusing on, for you wise, is we ideally want to be including on a weekly basis resistance, cardio, and interval training. So with the resistance training, as we did your body composition, we're looking at, the breakdown of your arms, legs, and torso, which include your, torso is your chest, back, and your core, not just your core.
Right.
That was the area we needed to focus on for muscle mass and muscle growth, because a lot of times you think of, I'm going to be lifting weights, and a lot of times sometimes we tend to lift lighter than we should, just so it's easier, it's not causing that much discomfort, but the real benefits are when we're lifting a little on the heavier side for muscle growth, but also bone health.
Oh.
And I recommend to every woman over the age of, going from even like younger all the way up to, into menopause.
Yes, I know. Add weights.
Add weights
Yeah.
at least 3 times a week, just to large muscle groups as well. And then that's something that we want to focus on heavier. Because the lighter weights are great, because when we look at muscle health, it's like you're looking at your muscle strength, endurance, power, and then looking at also your growth or hypertrophy. So that's something we want to make sure that even within each category, there's even a more specific prescription that, what's your goals? Is it the endurance? Are you trying to do like a marathon? Are you trying to do different activities and so forth? But on top of the cardio and interval training, it's going to be very geared towards your heart rate and how your body responds to exercise.
Interesting. I don't recall what the results that I got were like very comprehensive, which is so interesting to me, because it's not it's not just like one sheet and here's what we recommend. I mean, it's very detailed and has a lot of information about your health and wellness in there. I knew I had the faster metabolism. Nutrition-wise, what were some of the recommendations in there?
So a lot of times with the nutrition, it's funny. We would like to, and I never like to talk about saying you should be doing this diet or that diet. We want to make sure you're focusing on really kind of small lifestyle changes. We're focusing on choosing healthy carbs, fats, and protein breakdown. And so as we're focusing on, let's say, carbohydrates, eating in terms of percentages wise, based on your goals, looking at 45% of your daily intake should be healthy carbohydrates, where we're looking at protein, it could be around 20 to 25, and then healthy fats could be right around 30 to 35%. And those numbers will change based on, what's your weekly goal of, like, let's say, losing body fat or gaining muscle in the process, because we want to make sure that the nutrition side of it, it's, choosing those, right foods to, macro and micronutrients, but also your meal timing as well, making sure that you're eating properly throughout the day as well. And it's very, based on your, circadian rhythm and other things as well. But that's something that, with nutrition, it's, hydration is also important as well. But starting to make those, small changes rather than saying, we don't want to go, I don't recommend people going from vegan to, or going from like eating a carnivore diet to a vegan, but just simply saying, hey, let's go from 3 sodas to 2 or 2 sodas to 1. And, make those small changes, because that's, the goal is, at Atlantic, is we're trying to, not only with physical therapy, but, after physical therapy and the, post-rehabilitation and, the wellness side of it, is we want to help you set really wonderful lifestyle habits that even when you are not with us and working with us on a, let's say, weekly basis, you can continue those habits going forward. And it's really those small changes that are going to cause the greatest positive benefits to your health.
Right. So interesting. So if you work with clients monthly?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I work with either monthly or it could be just a one session. Really depends on their goals.
Okay. So if they had perhaps a pretty extensive weight loss goal and they're working with you, they go through the testing, what does it look like? Why would they meet with you after that, right? Because you get the results, and then how do you help them afterwards?
Absolutely. So our medical weight management program, so once you get the 4 tests that we talked about, the body composition, the lung function, the resting metabolism, but also the exercise or the VO2 max test, once you get those results back, the medical weight management program includes individuals coming in for 12 sessions a month. We do nutrition counseling,
wow.
weekly body composition, and then we also have a referral network that if you need to meet with a dietitian, or you need to meet with a mental health coach or a primary care, we're able to refer out as well. And we want to make sure that we're factoring into people who are maybe taking, let's say, obesity, anti-obesity medication, and that's something that when people come in and they're working,
like a Ozempic,
and so forth. And I was, my stance is always I'm a complete advocate of comprehensive obesity management and making sure that, hey, listen, your health history, you're taking these medications. We want to make sure that you're doing the right stuff to preserve muscle but yeah.
Well, it does have to be comprehensive too, because we've had other providers who've come on to talk about obesity. We had a bariatric surgeon come on to talk about pediatrics, actually, and how they're doing surgery with kids, but also preventative and what leads up to that. And I think the consensus is that all the weight loss medication, it really only takes about 15 to 20% fat loss, and after that it's you need a more comprehensive plan, right?
Yeah, and it may vary on the individual.
Yeah.
And being on the exercise physiologist, I always recommend saying, hey, talk to your physician about this. But most of the times when you're taking those medications, the medications are with exercise and proper nutrition, because it's all about those lifestyle habits.
And if you don't stay on them, you gain that weight back, I think, too, right?
That's kind of up for
okay. Depends on the person.
Depends on the person. I don't like to say people who are like, oh, once you stop it, you're going to gain the weight back. That's not necessarily true.
Okay.
It really depends on the individual's response to the medication. But that being said, it's a conversation for the physician where, on my end, I'm like, hey, I'm going to stay on my side of the scope of practice to say, hey, listen, we want to focus on the exercise and nutrition piece to it.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. No, but it's changed a lot for people, but at the same time, I think that there still needs to be the overall awareness of how your individual body is processing food and what exercise you need. And it's just really cool that we have this technology that is able to tell us so much about our overall health. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Tell us where everyone can find you, where they can make an appointment.
Absolutely. So my main office is in Manasquan. In terms of address-wise, we're at 2414 on Route 34 in Manasquan. We do have other locations throughout the state. I mentioned we have about 28 locations now throughout New Jersey. You can call our office at 732-528-3850 to talk to our office manager to schedule that free body composition.
Okay.
Or you can also email me at jdkuper@atlanticptcenter.com. But by and large, if you call anybody throughout the company, you ask for Jeremy or JD Kuper about the program, you'll find me pretty quickly.
Oh, good. Yeah. So. And we'll put all of the information in the podcast notes so you can click on the website and learn more about the program there. But yeah, it was a great experience. It was really, really interesting to me, and valuable information to know that about my health as I go into this next decade, right, with different wellness goals. Is like I said, we just can't live our lives eating cheese fries every day. day and, not getting enough sleep. So I'm now armed with a great report analysis of my overall body composition and health. I got the Aura Ring.
Good.
And we talked about that
Absolutely.
last time, to just check out my sleep health. I think it's so interesting just to, to see what's going on with your body. So thank you so much for coming on and talking about the great program that you have at Atlantic Physical Therapy. If anyone also has any questions about my experience, you're welcome to reach out. But it was great. So coming up, we have a full packed summer of all kinds of activities and fun things to do for the family. Our summer fun guide happening right. It's actually on our website now. So if you want to go peach picking, or you want to go to the beach, or check out different splash pads, all kinds of events, movies in the park, we have it all listed on our website. You can also check out our beaches and pool guide. We have all kinds of information there. We updated our outdoor dining guide this year. So if you want to dine by the water throughout Monmouth County, we have some good ideas to check out and add to the bucket list. I'm a big fan of summer bucket list. My daughter and I do that every year. So check out all of that and more on the monmouthmoms.com, and enjoy your summer, everyone.